The end of the year is nigh. All that was alive and green now turns to a dark red, a bloody red. A red that activates our fear, making us all crazy. To properly channel this fear, we release it through the consumption of horror media. Nerdporial and a special guest will have a special discussion during this time to ward off evil for all its pain and pleasure. Nerdporial humbly welcomes you to Season 2 of the Serial Horror Chat. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Serial Horror Chat. And today, well, we're going to be talking about the original OG classic, probably some consider it the greatest horror movie ever, The Exorcist. And with me is a white cloak himself, Alex. How you doing, Alex? Thanks for doing this.
I'm doing well, man. I really appreciate you inviting me on. Looking forward to this one. I had actually not seen The Exorcist before last night, and so I'm coming in with a fairly fresh take on this one.
It's funny because I was under the impression, based on a conversation we had on Twitter. I don't know if you remember this. I had there was someone was giving was like saying, "What pick two of the best horror movies that you take with you," and I chose Alien and Halloween. And I believe you were the one that said wrong answer, and you said it should have been The Exorcist and The Shining. So I was under the impression that you saw The Exorcist. That's why I invited you in the first place. So when you said yesterday you didn't see it, I was like, oh shit. So
no.
You know what? That's fine. That's fine. I think that's funny.
So ironically, no, I was doing my typical Twitter shit, talking shit about nonsense I know nothing about. But no, purely from a historical standpoint, I would say The Exorcist and The Shining are the two sort of archetypal isn't necessarily the right word, but those are the S tier horror movies that sort of from a historic perspective get the credit.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, obviously everybody knows The Shining was done by Stanley Kubrick, but here The Exorcist was done by William Friedkin, who is, I mean, he's not quite the auteur that Stanley Kubrick is. You might disagree with me on that, but I think Friedkin did an excellent job here. Have you seen any other works of William Friedkin?
I don't believe so. I have to say my horror movie experience was limited to two horror movies that I do not remember that I saw because I was trying to get laid in college, and the girl that I was dating liked horror movies, so I took her to the movies twice. I'm assuming one of them was one of like the 10 Saw films.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And I have no idea what the other one was. The Nun or something, maybe.
The Nun. Okay. I'll be honest, I have not seen. I'm not a huge fan of recent horror. Like me, my favorite decade for horror is the 70s, because when it comes to movies and cinema, even thrillers, it usually never ends well for the good guy or for the protagonist. So, and what's funny is The Exorcist is a weird exception, but depends on who you think of the protagonist is in this story. But yeah, so you said you don't have a whole big history. That was the other thing I was going to ask you, was your, what other horror you've seen or what your history with horror was. So you haven't seen a whole lot of horror.
Not a big horror guy personally. It is a blind spot in my cinema profile that I'm actually sort of using some of your recommendations to rectify. I think now that I've knocked out The Exorcist, I think The Shining is next.
Okay.
All right. There's a lot. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of good horror out there. I'll just say. So, but before we even go any further, I want to say hello to Trip, who says she actually read The Exorcist when she was 13, and it messed with her. And of course, we got Mark Clark here. The demon face is why I didn't watch The Exorcist at night for years. Yeah, I used that demon face to introduce Alex's title.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I've even got the Exorcist style lighting going on right now, so figured I'd be in theme.
You know, what's funny is I like throughout the film, like you see Pazuzu's face. Like it's like less than a second. It's like maybe a quarter of a second little clip and all that. And you see it in Father Karras's dream that he has. You see it when you see it with Reagan. I'm assuming when she's laying in the bed, that is at the clinic. I'm assuming that's pretty much when Pazuzu really starts with the possession process. I'll say. And then what's funny is when what's her name, Chris, comes home and the window is open in the bedroom. We find out a certain character got killed off screen. We see when she's walking in the kitchen, we see Pazuzu's face like on the sheet metal above the stove and all that. I was like, wait a minute. Wait, holy shit. I just love how they do that with making the demon present, have like a presence throughout the movie. I thought that was creepy. I thought that was genuinely creepy.
Absolutely, and ironically, I know quite a bit about The Exorcist purely from like reading things about classic movies. This movie, when it was shot, actually had a ton of backlash, and a lot of it the studio did themselves to sort of gain publicity for, but they for subliminal images, and it's stuff like that, and it's stuff like Pazuzu's face, just like uh, two frames cut in that really kind of builds the tension, and it actually it was almost like a red scare thing where now stuff like that is actually illegal.
Really?
Yep, you're
Like
not
what?
allowed to do subliminal advertisements and basically any subliminal things in American film anymore.
Oh, really? Okay. So like not just like what do you mean, like product placement, like very brief product placement
Yeah, so
for
like
when it comes to subliminal advertising?
yeah, so there was a thing. I think it was Burger King who was paying to have like fries, like an image of like their fries for like two clips in things, and it's not enough for like your conscious brain to process it, but
Yeah.
it's enough for your subconscious brain to see it and be like, man, I really could do with some fries right now. And it was actually made illegal.
Oh, really? Okay. So I remember growing up. Now I'm sure this probably. I mean, I'm not sure how much this has to do with it, but I remember growing up. There used to be all these like breakfast cereal commercials that used to be on with Saturday morning cartoons, and I think even that got got put the kibosh on. And I'm not sure if it's because of subliminal. I mean, this is like, these are full on commercials. 15 to 20 seconds, 30 seconds long. So I don't know if it's the same idea that goes into that, but yeah, that's actually very interesting. But like the whole subliminal thing, uh, I guess we could start talking about the prologue, the northern Iraq stuff. Now that segment was very like, I'll be honest, like there was very little dialogue, and there was very little in terms of musical cues. It was images and sounds, particular sounds that
Yep.
we had to pick up on. I'm curious what your take. I don't know if you even remember. I'll share my screen. I'll show some images. I'm curious what you thought of that for the opening, the first 10 minutes.
So I guess actually one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was this movie didn't start getting scary until the 45-minute mark. Like
Yeah,
that's really the first time you see Pazuzu really start to have an impact in sort of a scary way. I mean, you see the Ouija board thing
hmm
move. You see a couple of little things, but really this is way, way, way more of a character-driven movie than your modern horror movies, where it just, the goal seems to, at least in my very limited experience, be to get the family into the dark locked house so you can have a series of jump scares as quickly as possible. Whereas this one really is a story. Like this is not a jump scare reel.
Yeah, the characters all have arcs. I mean, Chris McNeil has an arc. Probably the most compelling one is probably Father Karras. Now, question is, who do you think is the protagonist of this movie? Do you think it's Chris McNeil or do you think it's Father Damien Karras?
It's Damien Karras.
Okay, because what's funny is even though that seems to be the case, Jason Miller, the actor that plays Father Karras, is actually not top billed. So you kind of think, I mean, because obviously this first 10 minutes covers Father Marin, the hero. I would like to say the warrior. He's basically the holy warrior, the hero. He is like the I mean, I don't know if he would fulfill the kind of the Gandalf role for this movie. Like he's the wise. I mean, he's the one that has experience. He's wise. He knows the enemy. But he has a heart condition and all that. And what's funny is, I don't know if you noticed, but the way the movie opens, you get this hard cut into the Exorcist. So you get some soft fades initially, then it hard cuts into the title card, and then it goes to this. So it starts off black and white, and then all of a sudden the color shifts to like this insane red. I think this foreshadows like there's going to be blood. Like by the end of this movie, like there's going to be heads rolling. I don't know if you made any. I don't know if you did an analysis. I've been watching film analysis videos on this particular part of the movie, so that's kind of why I'm thinking like this. But I was curious, like how you felt about like the choices of like images and what they show in this part.
I'm actually going to say the thing that I really liked the most about this part was what it didn't show. Like, it never felt the need to tell me, yes, Pazuzu is the 7th Gorlock of the 9th Battalion of Hell. It was just, okay, guys, here's a coin. If you choose to, interpret it as one of the 30 pieces of Judas's silver, great. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a haunted coin. Maybe it's whatever. But there wasn't a need to over-explain anything. It's not a part of a franchise. It's not, trying to tie back to anything else. It's just, here's a coin. It has something to do with the plot. Go.
Yeah. And we get this sequence now. Do you think that this is just a theory I have, and that's what's cool about this is, like you said, it doesn't really explain exactly. It doesn't really exactly tell you what's going on. But do you think like this is the demon kind of from we're seeing things from the demon's point of view, and he's kind of screwing with Father Marin. So apparently, Father Marin has a history with this demon. Apparently, over a decade before, he performed an exorcism that took like a few months.
Yep,
and I believe it was the same. Yeah, in Africa, it was this, and I believe it was the same demon too. I believe it was also Pazuzu. I'm not sure if I don't think the movie itself confirms this. I think this might be something the novel confirms. So, okay. But there's points in this shot right here. One in particular is with the kid. So there's this kid running around that tells Father Marin that they found something in a dig, and we get this type of shot right here, where now maybe it's because this was the best shot that they could do under these circumstances, but this kind of looks like to me there's a little bit of a mess because you have Father Marin down, and then you don't even see the kid. You barely see the kid's face, but you see his feet. It's like he's looming over him. So I'm curious if there's I'm curious if the things that he sees, like the people that are staring at him. You kind of wonder if Pazuzu is just doing shit right here. So I don't know. This kind of seems like a very intimidating type of shot right here. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know what you think.
I think you're definitely right as far as like a shot composition thing. Like it is definitely a Catholic priest on his knees doing humble work, um, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess I was watching this, and the thing that stuck out to me is, man, older movies, you know, when they wanted to like do a set, it was just fuck it, throw 50 Indians pretending to be Iraqis in a shot. What does it
Yeah.
matter? Whereas now, I feel like and goddamn Star Wars, I feel like is probably the worst offender of this. Like, if a background set in Star Wars has more than 5 people in it, they just CGI the fuck out of it. Like,
Yeah.
or
What was that? What was that Boba Fett that did that? I forget which show that. I forget which show did that.
a bunch of them do it, but I mean, same with, I mean, Jesus, you see Wheel of Time, like Jesus Christ, if they have more than 20 people on a screen, I'm convinced the camera breaks. But here, here they're just like, yeah, no, fuck it, we're in a dig site in northern Iraq. How big is the dig site? I don't know, 50 dudes, perfect, let it rip. Like,
Yeah, they actually shot this, and I believe the name of the place is Katra. Here's the name of the Vulcan Soul or something like that. I think it's called Katra. What's funny is this place was almost destroyed by ISIL like a few years ago.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Like up here, I don't know if you noticed, but there's been a lot of like bad things that happened during this production,
Yep.
to the point where like Friedkin actually asked a priest, because they had priests as consultants, and he literally asked the priest to perform an exorcism on the production or something like that. And the priest was like, "No, I don't think that'll be a good idea. How about I just bless the sets, I bless everybody, and that'll be it." Because I mean, people besides, I mean, there was points where people died, like the actor that plays the director, the director that Chris works with in this movie, who gets killed off screen. That actor actually died shortly after finishing his part here, and same with the woman that plays Father Karras's mother. She died after she completed her stuff too, and then there was just so much. There was like so much malfunction. So when we get to the end, they wanted to keep the temperature at a negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
oh,
And yeah. And so they brought in a refrigerator unit. The problem was it kept breaking down, so they can only so it took them like months. It took a long time because they only could get 5 shots each day. So they were working on that. They worked on that final part for quite a while. So, but there was a lot of shit that went down during the production. And then you have William Friedkin, who is he is your typical Hollywood director. Like, he is a prick. But he's a good prick, as in he knows what the fuck he's doing. He curses like a sailor, which is hilarious. You have to watch some of the stuff, some of the videos of him doing, especially when he was older and all that. But like, for instance, he was very combative, and he would tell people, like, for instance, when Father Karras gets vomited on the bile by Reagan. The director told him it was only going to hit his arm, when it actually hit his face. And so so when you see that shot and that disgusted look he has, that was real.
that's awesome. And I will say, I miss the days of asshole directors. Like, can you imagine being a guy like Joss Whedon, who grew up in this environment, and all of a sudden you're fucking getting labeled as the bad guy because you want Ezra Miller to lay on top of Gal Gadot? Like, I mean, talk about the world shifting underneath your feet and just being utterly like not ready for it. I will also say this is the second or third best marketed movie ever, in the fact that like all of those stories about like, oh yeah, all the actors died and all of the equipment malfunctioned and we needed to perform an exorcism on the site because this movie is so cursed, was brilliant because they spread those stories far and wide. And
Yes.
everybody wanted to come go see the cursed ass Hollywood movie. Like, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, this movie sold really well. Like it was like it came out on the day after it came out the day after Christmas, and it was sold out for a while. It was sold out for a while, and I'll be honest. What version of the movie did you watch? Did you watch the original theatrical or did you watch the director's cut? The director's cut had the spider walk. It had additional dialogue from Father Marin, especially about what the movie's about, which Friedkin left out, and William Peter Blatty, hated him for years because of that.
So I watched the theatrical version. That was the one that was on HBO Max. I'm calling it HBO Max. We're none of this Max shit.
So you didn't get to see the spider walk?
I saw that on YouTube. I actually remember because I saw it and I was like, I know I'm missing something here. And so I looked up what the difference was. And that was one of the scenes that I watched just as an extra frame of reference.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically from what I gather. So because of the choices that Friedkin decided to do, because obviously William Peter Blatty wrote the novel, but he also wrote the screenplay as well. And the things that Friedkin left out were things that Blatty wanted kept in, and that kind of led to a rift between the two of them for a long time. And and I think this was doing this director's cut was basically Friedkin's way of saying, okay, I kind of want to mend our relationship and all that. So he figured out a way to put the stuff, incorporate the stuff in. So even though Friedkin's an asshole, rest in peace, by the way. I don't think he's a bad guy. And I'll be honest, like his other movies, like I saw the French. You've seen the French Connection, haven't you? Or you haven't seen the French Connection?
I have.
That's William Friedkin. That was the one he did before this. So he's not a horror director. He's more of a thriller director. So the one movie that probably was the biggest, the movie he put probably the most work in, probably was they had the insanest budget and failed in the office, was a movie called Sorcerer, which is basically his version of a remake of the French movie The Wages of Fear, which is about these guys who are transporting dynamite in the jungle, in the rough jungles of South America. And you're transporting dynamite, and any little bump, could, set it off and all that. So that's where the tension is. And they literally were driving these large trucks on this like straw bridge. And you're watching this, you're like, how the hell did they pull this off? This is 1978. So I watched it. I mean, it was on Amazon. I think it was on Amazon, but that was a movie where I was just like biting my nails, like what is going to happen next and all that. 70s, dude. 70s. What can I say? So,
it was a better time.
It was a much better time. So, but yeah, this whole opening sequence, like, yeah. So we get the demon. So we get to the dig. He gets the demon. Gets the demon little pendant right here. Let me see if we get that. So do you think this here is where the demon kind of gets released or something, or? So this is where I have questions myself. I'm like, when does was the demon like in hiding? Was he hiding under that dig? Was he in hell and he just got maybe that was a path to hell and he came back because of the dig? I honestly don't know.
See, I viewed this as like a sign. Like he sees this and he knows, oh shit, the demon's out, kind of thing. It's not the demon, it's not the demon's prison, it's just it's signs, it's back.
Yeah. So for no reason then, or for unknown reasons, the demon is back. And of course, we get like a whole bunch of points. We got this nice little shot right here, even though it's you would think it's sunset. And by the way, Mark Clark, I have to read this. Does he curse like Trip? I'm sure he's talking about William Friedkin. I didn't know. Does Trip curse? I never knew Trip. I don't think Trip curses. I've never seen Trip curse. I don't know. But here it looks like it's the sun is setting. Either the sun is rising or the sun's setting. But then the next shot right here, and maybe this is just meant to confuse the viewer. It seems like it's midday the way this looks right here, with the sun being high above him and all that. So I don't know. But we get this cool. We get this cool shot. We learn that he has a heart condition, and he's being watched by these people. And heck, even the guy that even the waiter right there is just like giving him this weird look and all that. And
yeah, dude, he's a pasty white guy in Iraq. They probably have no idea what the fuck is going on with this guy.
Yeah, and then we hear this clanging, right here. There's these guys, they're forged right here, and we see this dude here with this like glassy, milky, blind eye. I'm curious if you would correlate that to, remember when I think when Reagan is first manifesting her possession, like she rolls her eyes back, she's like that, I'm curious if this was kind of like, once again, I'm curious if this is just, this entire thing is all foreshadowing,
I honestly don't know. Like I wish I had a better answer for you, but it might just be like, man, hey, that extra has a really freaky looking eye. Send him out there. Fuck it. Let's put it out there.
That's probably the case. That is probably the case right there. So, but yeah, this guy. I think this guy is like a procurer or something. They part, and here's an interesting shot that I included in this. So obviously Islam. Obviously they're doing the Islamic prayer, but the way this looks right here, this looks like they're basically sticking their asses at him. Kind of wonder, does that mean is this Pazuzu's way of mocking Father Marin or something? Saying another foreshadowing. Who is this dude right here? Like, why is this dude just there? Like, are they kneeling to him? Is he Pazuzu? Like, there's so many ideas. There's so many. When you watch something like this, you're just filled with ideas of what the hell is going on. What is this supposed to mean and all that?
This is one of those things that, like, in a modern director, you would ask these questions. I'm not unconvinced if you were to ask Friedkin about this, he'd just be like, oh yeah, no, that's just what fucking Iraqis do, and we wanted to emphasize that he was in Iraq, so that's, they're just doing random Iraqi things.
I don't know. I'd like to think there's a supernatural. There's a supernatural aspect to this. Maybe I'm doing the fanboy thing where I'm filling in blanks that maybe there doesn't need to be any filling in. How Wheel of Time show fans like to fill in the blanks for the bad writing. Whoops, sorry.
That's true. I guess if we wanted to take a religious slant on this, this is a very pro-Catholic movie. It would be the Catholic guy is hustling, trying to make shit happen, trying to save the world, and the Muslims are just wasting time worshiping their fake god. Like, I don't know. Is that what we is that what we're taking away from this? Is it an anti-Muslim message?
I honestly don't know right here. And look who decided to show up. A certain prophet of the dragon. We're the heroes of the horn. These are the heroes of the horn right here. And that's Arthur Hawkwing right here. There you go. Perfect. So we get a little jump scare right here. So he nearly gets hit by this carriage, and it looks like this old woman intentionally did it. The way she just looks at him and just starts smiling and all that. You're just like, okay, maybe there's some wickedness going on. But like you said, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just, hey, we're just, we just put this old woman in here to make it look creepy enough. So
look, no matter where you are in the world, women can't drive. It's fine.
and she's like 80. She looks like she's 85, 90 years old too. So that's even worse. And then this part, this is the showdown. This is the This is Rocky facing down Apollo Creed. This is Muhammad Ali facing down George Foreman or Frazier or something like
George
that.
Fraser.
Yeah.
Both work.
So where is it? No, that's not what I wanted. There we go. There it is, right here. So you got there's Pazuzu, and here it is. There's the stare down right here, and of course, and I was watching other channels. Their boxing is a theme in this movie. I mean, boxing is a motif in this movie. I mean, Father Karras is a boxer, so. Yep. That's kind of where I'm getting this from. So, but this is setting up the battle. This is setting up the battle, the battle of good versus evil. So, and what's funny is when I first saw this, I just saw this as a horror movie because everybody tells you it's a horror movie. And after watching it this time, this movie, even though there's disturbing scenes in this, I don't think this is really a horror movie. What do you think? Do you? I think this is more of a fantasy in some ways.
See, I don't disagree, and I think it comes down entirely to where you draw the line of horror. Like, I mean, again, if we talk about your modern horror, which is just a jump scare simulator on rails, then this is absolutely not a horror movie. This is I'm not sure I'm willing to go as far as to say character driven, but I would say a thriller maybe.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I could definitely think of like a thriller. But like, there's I don't want to sound blasphemous, but I mean there's some fantasy elements, good versus evil. I mean, obviously mythological elements, assuming if you're Christian and all that, you don't shoot me. And I mean, I grew up Christian myself. I grew up Orthodox. But like, it's setting up a battle, and and so when we get to the end, which is the next time we see Father Merrin. So Father Merrin's only in the beginning. Max von Sydow's in the beginning, and he's in the end. But when he gets to the house, when he gets inside the house and he's making preparations with Father Karras, it feels like Eve of Battle. It feels like, I don't know what it is because there's no music. It just feels like Eve of Battle. Like, I'm just like, you are looking forward to what's going to happen next.
Oh, they even have like it's in a fucking Arnold movie where they're putting the shawl on, they're kissing the robes. I mean, Jesus Christ, he did everything but fucking stick the holy water into a squirt gun like a magazine and rack the thing. Like, absolutely, this dude is getting ready for war.
Yeah, and that's what makes it epic. Like I thought of it as scary when I was younger because like I said earlier, you're told this is a horror movie, but I felt like it was an epic battle, and the way it ends. So, and we haven't gotten that far yet, but the way it ends, like, I wasn't sure what to make of it at first, and what's funny is a lot of the audience didn't know what to think of it at first. Like, a lot of people misinterpreted what Father Karras does at the end of the movie, and it really, really upsetted William Peter Blatty because he was very clear. I mean, he was very clear in the book what his intention was, or maybe he didn't even explicitly state it, but he stated it after the fact when he heard what people were what people thought of the movie. People literally thought the demon won at the end, when it was the opposite.
Yes, it's a Christ-like self-sacrifice of, a man gives his life so that the rest of humanity can be saved, kind of thing.
Yes. What's up, Gadfly? Says he can't stay. He's got to do some stuff. Yeah. This is a late one. This is a late one. So don't worry about it. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
All my fault, Gadfly. Do me a favor and catch it on the replay. Nerdtorial deserves the view on this one and does not deserve to be punished for my forgetting that time is linear.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So here we meet. So we skip ahead. Now we're in Georgetown. Now we're in Georgetown. I never realized that Georgetown is a Jesuit university.
Jesuit university. Yep.
And I believe Georgetown is like, I don't know if it's in Maryland or it's in Virginia, because I know it's right by DC, and DC is really close to. I mean, DC is right by.
I thought it was in
DC's
DC.
right by Virginia. I mean, DC's in Maryland, obviously, but it's right by Virginia, because you have Arlington, which is not too far from there. You know, the National Cemetery and all that. So I'm not sure exactly where Georgetown is, but like the opening shot here of we see Georgetown. It makes you wonder, and once again, I might be I'm letting my imagination get away, but I like to think that with the camera, with the camera movement right here, you think that maybe this is Pazuzu traveling all the way from Iraq all the way to Georgetown for his upcoming victim and all that. And of course, this is where we meet, Chris McNeil, an actress right here, Ellen Burstyn. And what's funny is, I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you do. They came out with another Exorcist film this week. Did you know that?
Oh, is there? Oh, yes.
It's called
saw
Exorcist
those
Believer.
comments.
It's called The Exorcist Believer. And I did not watch it. I did not see it. But Ellen, they had enough money to bring Ellen Burstyn in. Like, Ellen Burstyn was like, she refused to participate in any of the Exorcist sequels and whatever. And she was like, "Oh, if you want me, you're going to have to pay me this amount of money, and you have to put like this big giant scholarship for students or something." And they're like, "Done." And what sucks is the movie was directed by David Gordon Green. David Gordon Green directed Halloween Ends. And a lot of people hated Halloween Kills. I'm one of the weird minority that actually didn't hate it, but I understand why people did hate it. But the guy that kind of ruined Halloween for me, so directed this. And let's just say there's a magic word. There's a key word. When you hear this word, you know it's going to be bad. You know what that word is? It starts with a P and rhymes with matriarchy. Patriarchy.
Correct.
They mock this film. They mock the original Exorcist. They mock it with that. And everybody I've listened to, people who are not on the side of the culture war, everybody has flat out said this movie sucks. There you go. So, but yeah, that is a movie I will not watch, and I do not plan to partake in ridiculing it, because it doesn't even deserve that, in my opinion. So, but yeah, here we meet Chris McNeil. She is shooting a movie in Georgetown. I think she's supposed to be playing. It's supposed to be like based off of like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, but there's a riot. There's a student riot, and she takes the side of the rioters. So we get this shot right. Okay, that's a little too far. But yeah, that's the director. That's Burke Dennings. And so yeah, this is her participating in the shot, just basically participating in this protest and all that, because it's early 70s. It was common to do shit like this, But
how old is this movie that we still filmed movies in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah. I mean, this was probably 1970. They probably filmed this in 1972.
Yeah,
so,
it came out in 73. We had the 50-year anniversary of this film this year.
Yeah, I mean, the movie itself came out in December. I spent a decent amount of time in post-production. And this movie was filmed like this. The movie was originally supposed to take only a few months to film. It actually took them 7 to 8 months to film. It took 200. It took almost 200 days. 200 days of work to do this. And yeah, it was because of stuff like the equipment breaking down, and probably a whole bunch of other shit I haven't even read yet. So, but it's just a lot. So a lot went into this, and this is pretty much like, she's like, right now, what we know about her character is she has a daughter. We learned that she was recently divorced. The husband is living in Rome. And the reason why they feel that we meet Reagan right here, right there. That's Reagan. That's Linda Blair. Every horror fan knows Linda Blair. What's up, Words of Paradise, by the way? Thanks for coming by. She starts to notice changes in her behavior. And the first thing we see is, and obviously, she starts talking to somebody named Mr. Howdy with the Ouija board. Let me see if I can find that. So we're finding out right then and there that there's a presence. She's obviously talking to somebody, and then once again, mom's overworked, but then she starts hearing shit. So the beginning of this movie, she starts hearing shit in the attic, and she's like, "Is there rats?" And her butler, I think his name's Carl, he's like, "There's no rats," and everything. So she goes up there, and what's funny is we get this nice little creepy shot right here. She's the candle like just turns into like a flamethrower, like she's walking, and all of a sudden, like that.
I think it's so funny how much movies are a product of their time. That this movie honestly expected its audience to sympathize with an actor. And it's like, oh, she's doing everything. She's trying so hard. She's trying to raise a daughter by herself and is putting in long days as a movie actor. And I am so distasteful of Hollywood actors at the time that it actually didn't strike me until like I had finished watching the film that's what they were trying to do. Like, I just have so little sympathy for Hollywood actors that I just didn't like this woman just purely because of her profession. And I actually had to go back and kind of rethink of this movie through the lens of if I was watching this in 1973 and still thought movie stars were cool people, like 50 years of time really does separate a person from the original intention of the art.
I was okay. So speaking of that, now when you're saying your distaste of actors, are you talking about actors now, or are you talking actors of all
actors now?
Okay, like, actors now.
If fucking I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio if there was a movie in which Leonardo DiCaprio was a character in a movie and he was struggling and failing to raise his daughter, my response would be like, damn, Leonardo DiCaprio is a really shitty person that he won't put his career aside to put his children first. Mm-hmm. Whereas here, they were just like, oh, no, she's a movie star. She's a good person. And I had to really, really flip how I think about these people in order to make that work.
Single mom, and who knows exactly what it is, but I can't say Chris is my favorite character. Obviously, I think the best character is I think Father Merrin steals the show. He chews up the scenery every time. I think Father Karras is probably the most compelling character, and I think he has the best arc in this
100%
in this movie. But I think her story, her arc is pretty interesting too. She's just like losing. She's dealing with the fact that her daughter's changing, and no matter what she does, nothing seems to work. And that's one of the other things that makes this movie so unique is like the exorcism, the movie, The Exorcist, the exorcism is the payoff. And all that's built up to it, from her trying to, taking her daughter to get tested everywhere. So, here, they're doing tests, and like right now she's starting to make changes. We see her stare like this, and this looks a little unsettling, but then all of a sudden, there we go. There was Pazuzu. So here's some subliminal shit. I hope you guys don't sue me. All right, so, but and this is where I think this really is. This is where this is where she starts to get possessed. I don't know if you think it happened earlier, but because we get this happens right here. The Virgin Mary is desecrated. Do you think Reagan did it? Or do you think somebody else did it? Somebody else possessed by Pazuzu?
See, I took it as Pazuzu himself did it.
Pazuzu himself? So you think okay. All right. So basically, kind of maybe manipulated the matter or the material that makes up the statue of the Virgin Mary and create those little protrusions, so to speak.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. With some, I guess you could say, it does look like 70s blood. Nice little, reddish orange, shade of paint and all that.
This one, especially in modern day context, made me laugh because it's what if this would come out recently, my response would be like, what did Friedrich mean that the devil has both tits and a dick? Like, was this commentary about the trans community? Like,
I don't know.
what did he mean by this?
Yeah, you're just like, what is this right here? So, yeah, and I just love because the priest is just coming in, bringing flowers, and he just sees this, and you're like, oh shit, right there. So, and of course, we get the famous what do they call it? The angiography.
Angiography, yeah.
So it's basically they think there's something wrong with what I think was her temporal lobe that they think there's like a flare. There's something going on with their temporal lobe, and they want to get some images in. So they take her, they tie her down to this table, and by the way, the reason why they're doing all this is because she starts acting up. She literally says to the doctor right here, "Keep your hands off my the C word that rhymes with bunt and all that." So I want to see. Okay, we'll get to Father Karras. Okay, that's a little. All right, I want where is this? Okay, here it is. Here it is. This is it. So they're applying the stuff. And let me see. There you go. So they're sticking it in, and then get the blood squirt. You get the blood squirt right there. And this actually kind of, I was actually a little disturbed when I first saw this too. Honestly, like when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, this movie did a brilliant job of really being just edgy enough without being like a full-on X-rated like film. They did so many things in this movie that I have to imagine, people in the 70s before they, before everybody was desensitized to this stuff.
Yeah,
really didn't like the crucifix scene later on is
yes. And what's even worse is it's kids. This is happening to she's only 11 or I think she's only 11 or 12 years old. This is happening to kids. Mm-hmm. So this is gonna. I mean, seeing something like that would upset any person. But when it comes to kids, and this was back in, and this, like you said, this was back in the 70s. There were still like standards of decency, especially if you ever listen to old Siskel and Ebert reviews and all that. Like they hated horror because of just they considered all horror to be, not with the exception of The Exorcist. The Exorcist is not amongst that, but they consider horror to be mainly gratuitous, and that's why they call most horror movies complete dog shit. So, but yeah, this was. Not only did you see the blood, but you also see her suffer. So they have all these equipment that's making so much rocking noise, like it's bah, 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 bah. And then she's just like oh like that. She's just like you see her wincing, and it's just you just feel bad for her because you're like, what is going on with her? And they get the images, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing going on with her brain. And it gets to a point where they're like, okay, maybe we'll try something else. So they have like this robotic arm. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. They have this nice little robotic arm doing this little thing. Let me see. It's doing this and doing that. And she's wincing here too. And the same results. There's nothing wrong with her. And the mother's just going nuts. Like what's going on with her? And we see her, she starts to manifest, like she starts to have like boils on her face, and she starts to have boils on her face, and she starts doing shit like literally gets home. And this is the shot I was talking about. Okay, I don't know if it's here. where we see Pazuzu again. So this is like your typical. Okay, do you see that?
Right there. Yep.
I thought you're like, oh, you're like, whoa, you're like, whoa, shit. And this is where we find out that the director dies off screen, Burke Denning. So she goes up to the room, and she finds that so Reagan's asleep. She wasn't asleep. I'm assuming she's faking being asleep, and the window's open.
See, my read on this was always that Pazuzu was somewhat limited. Like she could exert force,
Yeah,
but like needed to rest in between.
yeah.
So my read on this was that she killed the guy and then was like, "All right, I used all of my powers for a while. I need to pass out."
And so, do you think? So, do you think the Pazuzu left the body and just kind of lingering in the kitchen? Hence why we see that little image in the dark right there.
Honestly, I thought it was just kind of like a subliminal scare thing, but it could be.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm being a little too literal, a little bit too literal on this one. But yeah, like I can definitely see that. Yeah, it does. I would like to think that it does take energy. And I mean, I mean, you've seen Harry Potter. Remember when Voldemort starts to possess? I forget who Voldemort possesses. Does he possess Harry or something at some point?
Yep.
And we find out that it's extremely painful to possess. I don't know where J.K. Rowling got that idea. I'm assuming it's not fun. It's not comfortable. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we even see it when she when Father Karras is there. It opens the door, and then he closes it and he asks, "Can you do it again?" And it says, "Not for a while."
Yeah, that's true.
And also, I know exactly where J.K. Rowling got that from. She got it from, I've written myself into a corner, and now I don't know how to fix it. So now Voldemort can't enter Harry because of the power of friendship.
Okay. All right, well, that answers that question. So speaking of Father Karras, let's go back to Father Karras. So Father Karras, man who is he's a priest, Jesuit priest, who also happens to be a psychiatrist. So obviously this actor is Jason Miller. I don't know if you know who he is, but he is the father of Jason Patrick. If you ever seen The Lost Boys, Jason Patrick's the older son. He was also in Speed 2 or something. He was in like the sequels to Speed or something. So yeah, so he's Jason Patrick's father. But yeah, so we find out that Father Karras, who he's a psychiatrist, he went to Johns Hopkins went to Harvard, then he went to Johns Hopkins. He was sent fully funded by the Catholic Church to become a psychiatrist to help other priests, who are dealing with issues. Well, we find out he's dealing with his own issues right here. So he lives in Georgetown, obviously. Lives at the university, but he had to leave his mother. I don't know if he's an only child, doesn't have any siblings. I haven't read the books, I don't know. But he's having a crisis of faith because of the fact that he has to leave his mother, and she's sick, and there's no one there to take care of her, and he doesn't have the money to send her. Him and his uncle don't have the money to send her to a proper care facility and all that.
Yep.
And she's really upset with him. And she's telling him, I'm not leaving this house no matter what, even though he's trying to convince her to do so.
Yeah, in the ghetto of DC. Like
this is I believe this is New York. This is New York.
I thought this was he's in New York? I thought
this is New York.
I thought this was Georgetown.
His mother lives in New York. That's why he's far away from it. Hence why he's far away from her.
That's why he's catching the train.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that that's a thing people did in the 1970s.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, he goes to the train. I forget if this is before, but he talks to a homeless guy. He's like, can you spare a quarter, Padre, or something like that? And what's funny is this homeless guy, is like, let's just say that this sets up something that pays off later. Here it is. All right, there's the creepy homeless guy. And what's funny is Pazuzu later in the movie says the same stuff, repeats what this person says to him when Father Karras meets Reagan for the first, or Pazuzu or Reagan for the first time. So that kind of pays off right there. But yeah, we get a nice little dream sequence with him. So he's dreaming that like he's see if I can find the dream. So he okay, maybe that's a little too far. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, he goes to bed at the university, and what's funny is the Father Dyer, the other priest that was there talking to him. That guy's a real priest. His name's Father O'Malley. He's a real I don't know if he's a Jesuit priest, but I think he was one of the consultants on the film. Yeah. So yeah, right here. This is like he is. I think this is where he tells. I think that's his boss or something. I don't know if he's a bishop or something, but he's basically saying this is where he says out loud that I'm having a crisis of faith and all that, and I'm not sure. He says he wants to be transferred. He wants to be transferred to. I think he says he wants to be transferred to New York, and the bishop is like, well, you're the best. We can't afford to lose you. Everything. So yeah, so this is kind of where it is, and we're hearing some Ramblin' Man. We're hearing this movie's version of Ramblin' Man by the Allman Brothers. So just a nice little little rock and roll touch. This is still early 70s. Dwayne Allman has already died in his motorcycle accident. Rest in peace. Yeah. So yeah. Let me see what else we got here. But yeah, so yeah, so right here, Damien and his uncle they're basically he's keeping his mother in this is like a mental ward right here.
Yeah, it's a public psych ward.
Because they can't afford anything else, and the uncle is making him feel guilty because he has a medical degree in psychiatry, and instead of opening a practice, he's working for the church, and he's got no money. He can't support them. He can't support his mother at all. And his mother just is not having any of it. He tries to talk to her. She's in bed, and she's just not having any of it right there. And it's heartbreaking. And he's taking his anger out on the punching bag right here. So I gotta get into boxing. I should do something like that. But yeah, we get this nice little dinner party. There's Father Dyer on the right, and this is where he tells Chris and them of Father Karras. So we learn more about Father Karras through him, and we get Burke Dennings. Now he's died before, but we get this nice little scene right here where he calls Carl, he's not German, he's Swiss. But he calls Carl a Nazi. Now this is the 70s. Now, even back then, your particular leaning of politically, some particular political leanings back then, which continue to this day, like to call the opposing side, bad people, fascists, Nazis, and all that. So when I heard this, I was just like, I've heard this. I was like, oh, we've all heard this before, just, complete asshole. And so Carl's doing what we all want to do. It's all those people behind the mic or keyboard.
There's a bit on this particular thing that's a little bit spicy for YouTube. So go ahead and we'll talk about this one after the stream.
Yeah, I figure that'd be the case right here. So, but yeah, well, Burke is dead, so who cares? And then he leaves, and he's just a complete asshole. And we get this moment with Reagan right here. Reagan literally walks up to them. She tells this dude right here. We never see him again after this, or maybe she says, "You're gonna die," and then she pees She stands up. She pees on the floor in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
I like how Father Dyer's just kind of like, he's smiling during this thing. You're gonna die up there, and then he's like, "What?" And then you get that and all that. It's terrible. But what was I gonna say? I got my notes right here. My bad, dude.
You're good.
So let's see what I got. But yeah, so we already covered the cerebral angiography. So let's talk about some of Reagan's. So this right here is the dream, by the way. So yeah, so Dyer's tucking in Father Karras. We get this dream sequence right here. His mother just died, and what's funny is in this dream she's like, huh? And then she walks away, and then we see Pazuzu. So Pazuzu is not only, I think Pazuzu is trying to get to him too. So not only does Pazuzu interested in Reagan, but maybe Karras is Pazuzu's ultimate prize in this. So when Karras comes in, Pazuzu's happy to fuck with him.
Could be. I mean, and I think that kind of goes back to sort of the homeless man in Pazuzu link. Like, I could definitely see how if you go into this movie with the idea that Pazuzu's goal is to take out Father Karras, then yes, that is how, you come to the conclusion that the bad guy wins in this movie. But I think that sort of shows a lack of understanding of sort of the Christian doctrine of self-sacrifice, if you will. Like, I don't know. I don't think, Satan never saw Jesus being crucified as a win, but, if you weren't familiar with the concepts of, the resurrection and the forgiveness of sins, I could see how maybe you would think, Satan got rid of God's number one guy. Like, how is that not a win? And I think that's almost what, the interpretation of Pazuzu here.
Yeah, that's kind of, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I think ultimately he wants to break Father Karras.
Yes, he wants to break the best.
He wants to create confusion and mayhem. He wants to create confusion, mayhem, turmoil amongst all these characters. That's what Pazuzu basically wants. Like, I don't know, like death. When characters gone, when a person's gone, they're gone, and either and I mean Pazuzu's not the devil, he's just another demon that just wants to fuck with people, and I think this is this dream is him fucking with him, and we do get another brief shot of Pazuzu that I'm not going to show again, but yeah, of course we get Holy Communion right here. And of course, more, Chris and the doctors, and they're trying to do. We already did the end. We already got past this, so kind of going back. And this is, of course, the death of. We find out that Burke is dead. Burke got pushed out of a window. And he fell down the stairs outside. And then we get this nice little shocking scene right here. So not only did she find out something terrifying, but she sees something even more terrifying right here. Like, you see something like that, I would scream. I would scream like a girl. And you can obviously tell right here, this is not Linda Blair. This is obviously a stunt person doing the moves. And they had her held up by cable in order to do that, because it's almost impossible to do something physically to do something like that.
See, I've actually heard the opposite. I've heard that they had a harness that they planned to use for her, but the gymnast stunt double was actually able to do it without the harness.
I'll have to double check that then. I could be misremembering this, but yeah, we get this creepy shot, and all of a sudden, blood coming out of the mouth right here, and then it just cuts away. It just cuts to black. You're like, okay, so what happens? They just they just take her and put her back to bed? Probably.
I will say that is one thing I respect the fuck out of Chris for. Like, man, if my kid was doing half this shit, like, nope, we are tying you down. We're going to the mental hospital. And shit, man. The second you start speaking languages that you never learned before, we got to talk about burning the house down. Like, gotta be sure.
Yeah, and of course we get another great scene right here. So now Reagan's in the chair and she's being talked to by a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is asking her questions, and we get this. There's a shot I want to show. Okay, a little too far here. We get this epic shot of him getting his nuts squeezed, but right before that, see if I can find it. Okay. Once again, this is too far. Come on. So he's asking, "Who are you?" Then we get this shot right here. Look at her face right here. So you get this, and then look at that little animation right there, like, and then grabs him by the nuts, and when we get this nice little shot right here, like this right here. I was just like, oh God, every time you're just like, oh my God, just lifts him up and puts him down, just grabs him by the nuts, lifts him up, puts him down like that. And the camera follows the motion. It's awesome. It's insane.
I love this. Like anytime you can give me unique cinematography,
yes,
I'll take it every time, especially in horror movies where I feel like really cinematography is what, separates the good from the bad, if you will, like more so than just basically everything else.
It feels like you're falling, like watching this particular scene, it feels like you're falling with him. There's one other sequence that I think of when I see this. You might not agree with this, but you've seen Psycho, right?
Yeah.
You remember, so you have the private investigator Arbogast. He goes into the Bates house. He gets up to the stairs, and then Norman Bates comes out and stabs him in the face, and then he falls, or he stumbles backwards down the stairs, and the camera is following him as he's stumbling down the stairs. I'm talking about that shot. I kind of think of that a little bit because the camera's following him. You feel like you're falling with him and all that. Yeah. It does something weird. It does something weird to you when, for me, I can only speak for myself. It feels weird. It feels like you're in motion with them. It's weird how that works.
Oh yeah, it's far more immersive than just watching it from the side or whatever.
But yeah, Words of Paradise. Thanks for being here, man. I can't wait. Let me know when you want to stream, dude.
I love that, man. That Words of Paradise fucking kills it every time. I cannot say enough good things about that guy.
Okay, I was watching his stream the other day. Subscribe to Words of Paradise, by the way. Yeah. So I had Dread Roberts on. We were talking The Fly, and he was promoting. He was on Words of Paradise show, and so I was like, okay, I'm friends with Dread Roberts. I'll listen to Words of Paradise. I was listening, like, oh, these guys are pretty good. These guys are really good streamers and all that. So yeah, definitely. But yeah, this was great. But going back to this was a great shot right here, and I like how like you have these major things, and then then it just cuts out. It just they end it. The scene ends without really any resolution. Something happens, and then it cuts to the next day. And we meet Lieutenant Kinderman right here. This is Lee J. Cobb right here. Have you seen any other movies that Lee J. Cobb was in? Like, he was the bad guy in On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yep. He's like, don't you be a fucking. Well, he doesn't say that. This is the 50s. Don't be a rat. That's where "Don't be a rat" comes from. Well, maybe not comes from, but it was prominent in that movie. And he was also the bad guy. Well, not the bad guy. He was the final juror to convince in 12 Angry Men.
Yep.
Both of those movies are excellent, and he was really good. He was really good in both of those movies. So it's so funny because in this movie he plays a very different character. He plays a. He doesn't even come off. Does he come off? He doesn't even really come off as a hard-boiled detective. just a guy. He's just an older detective investigating, very matter of fact, and likes to talk about movies.
Yep, he's just a guy doing his job.
Just a guy doing his job and all that. And so he has conversations, and he's investigating the death of Burke Denning, and he's telling Father Karras about this, and he reveals to Father Karras that Burke Denning got his head completely twisted 180. So he didn't die from the fall. He died before the fall. So somebody attacked him, and what's funny is he suspects that there's some like he suspects that there's some witchcraft or some sort of demonic thing going on, and that's why he's talking to him here. And of course, Father Karras, having a crisis of faith, doesn't believe it. He thinks he doesn't believe any of it, and it's a very interesting conversation. There's a point where Kinderman's like, if you hide stuff from the police, you can get in trouble, right? And Karras is like, is that a threat? He's like, oh no, just speaking in passing. And Karras is like, oh, here's something that I can speak in passing. I could just say, it was confession. you can't reveal anything in confession, all that. So I thought that was a funny exchange right there. And of course he does this whole movie thing, and he says, oh, does anyone tell you look like Paul Newman? So it was a nice little moment of levity in the film, I think, at points. And who's that? There's Reagan, and there's a kid. And this is the part where like you have all these doctors here, and they can't figure. They're like, we don't know what's going on. There's nothing wrong with your daughter. And this is where like Chris is just like completely just loses it. Like, what am I fucking paying you doctors for? Like, seriously, like, can't somebody give me a fucking straight answer? And right here, this doctor pulls her into his office. I don't think it's not the same guy as before. But he tells her about, it's funny is the doctor recommends exorcism here.
Yep.
The doctor recommends exorcism because he thinks it acts like a placebo to trick them into thinking that they're being treated for this. I thought it was a clever way to do it. I don't know about you, but I thought this was a clever way to put in the movie. And because all the other options are exhausted at this point. So, so this is where pretty much Father Karras comes into the picture right here. So, they bring her home, and then of course I think there's a point where I think she finds a crucifix. She finds a crucifix under her pillow, and she starts, questioning the help. Like, did you put this there? And they're like, no, we didn't. And this is where, she meets Kinderman. Kinderman tells her the same thing that he told Father Karras, about the fact that Reagan possibly murdered Burke Denning.
Well, he doesn't think Reagan did it. He thinks somebody else broke into the house and did it.
Yeah. That's true. So like basically a powerful, like I think the way he put it here, a powerful man or something.
Yes.
Or someone else. And he's just puzzled. He doesn't know what to think of it. And she's like, oh shit, my worst fears are coming true, because, the doctor suggested exorcism, and now he's telling her something that makes what the doctor said ring true. And she is freaking out. She's like, you could tell she's like, her eyes are tearing up. She's freaking out about this. And so, and of course the doctors, the inspector's looking at the drawings, and we noticed that, like, because Pazuzu is like a multi-animal type of god or something.
Yep.
She draws a lot of like multi-breeded creatures that have like multiple different they have mix of different animal parts and all that. So
God, I'll be honest, I totally missed that.
I watched a film analysis video. That's how I got it too. So yeah, I watched Collative Learning. He talks about all that stuff. And this is the infamous scene right here. So she starts hearing growling up there. So she goes up there to investigate. We find out that's basically Pazuzu is basically summoning her, and she just starts. This is the scene right here. She does stuff to herself. I don't even want to say what it is, and things are flying all over the place. And then she forces her mother, or the demon forces Chris to,
Yes.
I think, yeah, I don't even want to say it. And she gets completely smacked. Look, right here. That was real. And Ellen Burstyn never really quite recovered from that fall right here. This was real.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, that was Ellen Burstyn. She was out for 2 weeks because of this shot right here.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So, and you could tell that was not an easy. That was not a.
No,
that was not a fun fall.
It was not a graceful fall for sure.
No, it wasn't. So, and then of course we get this nice little. I would it was close enough to a horror sequence right there. Like you get the famous head swivel right here, and then she talks in Burke Dennings' voice saying, "Do you know what your auntie daughter did? Do you know?" In that Cockney voice and all that. And that was basically the demon's way of, once again, fucking with her, saying, yeah, I killed him. What are you going to do about it? And everything. And this is where Father Karras comes in. Father Karras just doesn't want to. Father Karras just doesn't believe her. Because he's from his lifetime of experience working with, with mentally ill people, he feels that possession, is kind of an outdated idea, because they discovered, schizophrenia. They discovered all these different, autism. They discovered all these different things that, people have wrong with them. Mm-hmm. And he just doesn't. He's still willing to see her, but as he says here, he's willing to see her as a psychiatrist, not as a priest. And she's like, "Dude, I need you as a priest." It was like, well, here's the terrifying thing. What he says, he's like, probably more about exorcism than most priests. Mm-hmm. So that just goes to show you that even with the Catholics, there's still not a whole lot of, it seems kind of hopeless. You get this kind of hopeless feeling right here that maybe there's nothing that can be done. And Jesus, look at that face. Oh, Jesus.
Oh yeah, this is where this thing really, these last 2 sequences are where this thing like really takes off, and like that's the second half of the movie. Like like things are just going down, and this is the part we already talked about it. So yeah, what's his name gets all the green stuff on his face. That was a real reaction. Thanks to William fucking Friedkin. He got that he wanted that genuine reaction. He got that genuine reaction, Oh man. But yeah, so we're getting all these like pictures. So like this kind of right here makes me think of the dig site, when they're uncovering the idol or the pendant or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so like he's still saying he doesn't quite believe it. He just still doesn't quite believe it. But he does ask right here. He's like, "Does your daughter know anything about me or something? Did she know I was coming? Like, how did she know about my mother?" Because one thing that I thought that was funny is like how manipulative. Like Pazuzu is a great villain. Like Pazuzu is like a really great villain. Like just wants to manipulate. Just wants to fuck with him. And this is where he starts to believe maybe this is real. Maybe this is a demon. How does Reagan know that my mother's dead? How does all that stuff? Because he asked her right here, like, did she know? Did you know about my mother? She's like, yeah. Did Reagan know? No. Why would she? So this is both the moment that he's convinced that it's real, and also the moment when um, he realizes, but also everything is good because he asks it, uh, you know, um, if my mother is in there, then you can tell me my mother's maiden name, and Pazuzu can't do it
Yeah,
because his mother is a good person who went to heaven.
yeah.
So Pazuzu has no power over um, his mother's soul, which ironically is stolen almost verbatim from what book series or by what book series?
I don't know.
The Wheel of Time, in the Eye of the World, when Ishamael is talking shit to Rand and saying, Rand, you have to join the Dark One because I have your mother's soul. I have your mother's.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, dude. Yeah, of course. What was I thinking? Yeah, the end, the final attack,
Yep.
dude. Yeah, dude. No wonder why. No wonder why I thought it. No wonder why I thought this was epic. Now I know why. Now I know why. Eye of the World. I had no idea.
Yep.
Yeah, that final psychological attack was brutal, dude.
Oh,
In,
yeah.
Eye of the World.
Well, actually, I don't know. Let me rephrase. Both are inspired by the story of Satan tempting Jesus at the end of the 40 days.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, here
it's
you're God. You can do miracles. Turn these stones into bread. Why suffer? Eat,
yep,
enjoy yourself. And Jesus like, fuck off. I'm not going to do that.
the suffering is the point. Yep.
No.
But anyway, just thought it was a neat call out considering the overlap here.
Yeah, cool. Great take, man. Great take. That's but yeah. So yeah, this is you could tell like he's just like, oh, like this is real. And then of course this is the part I like. He has the holy water. Or first he's asking like he starts talk. So she starts talking in Latin. She starts. I forget exactly what she translates, but he starts speaking Latin too because back. I think in this point, I think priests were still speaking Latin. I don't know when they discontinued it. I think it was in the 80s or something that the Catholics discontinued Latin.
Back when we were a real society.
Yeah. So he starts speaking Latin to her, and to just see maybe she's just a kid who just picked up a few phrases and that's it. Which was something that happened with what this movie was based off of. This kid that was allegedly possessed in the 40s, and he was like he had all these different manifestations that all the manifestations that they had in the movie that were based off of accounts from this 14-year-old boy in 1949 being once again allegedly possessed and attacked priests. So he went through a couple of exorcisms, and after that went on to live a normal life. Nobody knew who he was. They called him Roland Doe, and he recently died. He lived to be 85 years old, died in 2020. But a lot of people don't believe it happened. A lot of people don't believe the boy was really possessed. They thought the boy was a trickster or something. But I think he tried to speak a few languages in that, and historians don't believe that he was able to. He just picked up on a few things. He picked up on Latin from going to church and all that, and so that's kind of what Father Karras is trying to test her or test her, see if she can answer, and then she just jumps to French. She starts speaking French. And between that and opening the dresser and then throwing the fake holy water at her, kind of confirms it to him.
Well, actually, ironically, what does the fake holy water confirm for us?
And all we know it's tap water. So the thing is, she thinks it's holy water. And if she thinks it's holy water, it can hurt her.
See, my interpretation of this was she knew it was tap water, but she was faking because she wanted uh, him to bring the other priest there so that she could combat both priests.
Interesting take, because based on how, I don't know if you, I know this is your first viewing, but um, the throughout the movie, while possessed, she screams out Marin half the time. So I think the demon is, I mean, the demon obviously wants to fight Marin, but I think it also fears Marin as well. So that's an interesting idea. Like, once again, the beauty of this movie is you don't really, they give you enough, but they don't explicitly tell you everything. So it leaves room for theories and ideas. And that's actually, that might not, you might not be wrong there. Maybe she was faking it. I don't think she is, though, the way this looks right now, but you could be right. You could be right. She could be faking it in order to lure, because she does bring up, talking about exorcisms. Like, it's a fine day for an exorcism, and Karis is like, well, that would drive you out. So why are you talking like that? And then she just starts fucking with him. But this is kind of where, like, this is kind of where Father Karis is just like, basically he's like, he decided, I'm going to have to do the exorcism. And then he listens to the recording that he left. And we find out that Pazuzu is speaking backwards. Yep. And everything. So there you got it. There. So, and then this is kind of, I don't remember if this exactly confirms it. I'd have to rewatch the scene, but he's just like,
I think what he said is he needed 3 pieces of evidence to present to
the Archbishop
before the Vatican would, the Archbishop or the Vatican would consider it.
Oh yeah, the final thing right here. So he's called in by that's Sharon, the assistant, her Chris's assistant. She calls him. And we get a nice little refrigeration unit in here. We find out that there's markings on her, and the marking says "Help me."
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was the final straw for him. And then, of course, this is where he goes to the Archbishop and requests to conduct an exorcism. And there's his I forget this priest's name, his boss or something, talks to the Archbishop, and they're like, we like Father Karis, but he's not quite qualified to do an exorcism. We actually have someone that has more experience. And of course, look who it is, Father Marin. Yep, this is where Father Marin gets his epic, comes epic return in the movie.
Yep, we got a guy. It's funny. I watched Oppenheimer recently, and the scene with everybody going to see Albert Einstein.
Yeah,
this scene reminded me of that, and it's like, okay, the dude is kind of secluded and out of the way. He's kind of an old man. He just kind of walks in the forest, but if you need the dude, you got to go out into the forest and talk to the old man who knows his shit.
Yeah, because I remember in Oppenheimer, like they tried to recruit Einstein. Einstein, I think, refused.
It's one of my favorite parts. Is Oppenheimer is just such an asshole that he's like, oh, Einstein's washed up. We don't need Einstein. We're the new kids on the block, and then.
I think Oppenheimer styled himself as the new Niels Bohr or something, the Bohr model. Known for the Bohr model of the atom and all that. So,
yep. And then the guy runs the calculation, and they conclude, okay, there's a tiny % chance that setting this thing off is going to burn up the Earth's atmosphere. At which point he goes, all right, we should probably get Einstein to look at this. Like,
yeah, you don't want to do that. So, but here we are. We're at the final battle. We're at the battle. We got this nice little look at the fog guys. Got some work to do. I always appreciate good fog. What's up?
I first of all absolutely agree. Good fog really sets the tone, but also
yes,
fuck, I love old movies. This is a long movie for the 1970s, and it's 2 hours. Like, why? If you can do The Exorcist in 2 hours, there's no reason that a Guardians of the Galaxy film needs to be pushing 3. Like,
I agree. Really, the latest Guardians of the Galaxy is almost 3 hours long.
I thought it was like 247 or something.
Jesus. And here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that these movies like just are boring. I mean, I can't speak for Guardians of the Galaxy. I actually liked I actually liked the second one. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did. But like a lot of these movies now are just long. Like, The Last Jedi was 2.5 hours. Turned out to be complete shit.
Yeah, and I
all
think what's funny about this one is even indulgent. You could easily cut out 15, 20 minutes from that first half hour and not lose a ton.
No, that's true. But yeah, so going back to this, we get this nice little fog, and of course we get the iconic shot right here.
Oh yeah,
the lighting. You get the lighting. Look at all that fog right there.
Oh yeah, that's a man ready to go to work.
Yes, he's carrying the briefcase. He's wearing the hat. This is walking. He's walking into battle right here. So, and that's just the feeling. That's like I know we already talked about, but that's kind of what I gathered from this. And so right now, Father Merrin is he's taking charge, and I like how Father Karras is still bringing. He still has that psychiatry mentality he's still bringing a psychiatry mentality to this. And he's like, do you not want to hear like the types of personalities, the history? And Father Merrin's like, no, there's only one, and let's go to work.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's so cool right here. He's giving them instruction already. We're hearing farm animals. We're hearing like cow noises. We're hearing animal sounds right here.
Yep.
I forget what that's supposed to signify. I don't know if it's just the demon being obnoxious or something, making noise.
Well, it's Pazuzu's animal. You talked about it earlier. The hybrid animals.
Yeah.
The Pazuzu's a demon of like hybrid animals or something. But fuck me, I miss this character type. Old man here to fuck shit up.
Yep.
Like if in The Last Jedi Luke Skywalker did this instead of what he did,
yeah,
that movie is wildly better perceived.
Yeah. I wanted to see that too. We all wanted to see that. We all wanted to see how much better older Luke got. And we didn't really get to see that. We just got to see him force project. And that was it. And then he dies. And that was it. So, but yeah, here, like just, I don't know if you remember this part right here, this shot. You're Merrin! Like that. I was like, and he's just like, you know it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like the demon's like, come at me, bro. Come at me. I think. And it's just like it makes you excited.
Oh yeah.
So right here kind of feels like the eat before battle right now. So she's like, can I offer you some? Can I offer you? I forget what she offers. Like brandy. He's like the doctors would disapprove, but I have a very weak. I think I'm weak to. I forget how he put it exactly, but I'm weak to decline it or something like that. So he takes the drink. The drink despite that. I'm like, yes. So yeah, but yeah, this character is just awesome. And yeah, like once again, he's putting the shawl on, and they're going up. He's kissing the purple shawl right there. That's a shawl, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's ready to go.
And they go into the room, and the battle begins. And I like how Father Marin is unfazed by the cold, but yet you could clearly see Father Karras is just like, yes, 20 freaking degrees.
God, I'd be pissed as an actor.
He probably was
pissed. Like I've done conveyor work in freezers before, and like chocolate ice cream has to be stored at like -22, and oh my God, is it awful working in those places.
I used to before I graduated college. I used to work food service. I used to work in the kitchen. Sometimes I'd be the stock guy, and I'd be like, unpacking boxes or putting stuff away. And we had a walk-in cooler, but we also had a walk-in freezer.
Yep.
The walk-in freezer was fucking cold.
Oh yeah.
And I would be in there. I'd put on the jacket that the kitchen would provide, and I would just. I'd be cold, even with the jacket on, even with the coat on. I'd be freaking cold as hell. Sorry, Mark Clark says stole. So my bad. So this is where the battle begins. Kisses the crucifix. They're blessing each other, and then of course the demon tries to fuck with Marin. Doesn't work. So Pazuzu changes his tactic and completely goes for this. Completely does all these psychiatric and psychological attacks on Father Karras, and it gets to a point where it's too much for Father Karras. And but before that, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. They do all this awesome. They're saying the Lord's Prayer. They're there's so much going on. They're throwing holy water at him. I think that I forget what they're doing here. Blessing. They're doing blessing, and of course there's vomit involved. Yeah, there you go. More blessing, and then we get another head swivel moment right here.
Oh yeah. God, that must have scared the shit out of people in 1973.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a slow shot. Jesus, I can't do this. I'm gonna get penalized for that. All right, but then this is the famous. You get all these earthquakes. You get things flying around, and then we get the famous the power of. So she starts to levitate in the air, laying down, and we get the famous the power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you, and everything. So. And then, the fight continues until, what's his name? Father Karras just can't handle it anymore. And he tells Father, actually, they actually take a little bit of an intermission. They take a little bit of a break right here. And then, this was a shot that was originally, this was a scene that was originally cut from the theatrical movie. Yes. So, Father Marin basically explains to Father Karras like what is basically the point of this whole movie, and Friedkin felt that the movie itself kind of spoke for itself. He didn't need to really have to explain it to the audience, and that's kind of where I already brought this up earlier. That's kind of why there was a rift between Blatty and Friedkin after this came out. So, but yeah, basically the demon just wants to Father Marin puts it like this. It's basically the demon ultimately wants us to feel like we no matter what we do, we can never be loved by God. That's what the demon ultimately wants, and that's kind of the point of this movie right here. So something that would never be made today, by the way.
No, absolutely hell no. God, can you even imagine a movie that paints the Catholic Church in a positive light? Like,
this was way before we found out about certain bad behaviors that happened that have been going on for years in the church and all that. So, yeah, absolutely not.
I will say about the Catholic Church the same thing that I do about Republicans. I wish we were as hardcore as Hollywood thinks we are. Like, before the stream with Tudor Rambles, I was at a theology on tap event that was the cringiest commie fuck bullshit ever. Like I, god damn it basically blackpilled me on Christianity at this point, and I'm like, it was every bit as die cringe as Hollywood is about everything, and it's one of those things. I always find it bizarre that Hollywood seems to think that portray all Christians as like this homophobic monsters, and like
Yeah, I
just
know.
stupid.
Yeah, yeah, not just Hollywood, but like people on that particular side of the political aisle and all that. It's a shame. I mean, that's why when it comes to when it comes to the divisive stuff like that, like I really respect what you did today, your stream that you had earlier. So that's why I'm not well, that's part of the reason why I'm not mad. Plus, I don't know, I'm glad you had that discussion. It's good to have the conversations with people that don't see eye to eye with you on stuff. It's better to have a conversation and talk it out like adults than to act like fucking children and doing name calling and calling people this and that on social media. It's stupid and dumb. So, but yeah, kind of took a little tangent there, and
We got my fault, man.
No, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm not upset about that. So, but yeah, but that was basically the point of this movie, and I thought it was a beautiful way to put it. That came directly from Father Mirren, and this. I think in the book it was a different moment that Father Karras regains his faith. In the book, Father Karras reads I think he reads a diary that Reagan wrote or something, just about how much she loves her mother and her father and all that, and just the fact that he's here to save a girl, and that's kind of what leads to him self-sacrificing. Here it's hearing this particular thing right here from Father Mirren, which is what he needed, but at the same time, even before that, he still is being manipulated by Pazuzu to the point where Father Mirren tells him to leave. So yep. Father Mirren tells him to leave, and Father Mirren has his heart attack. So Father Mirren has his heart attack, and when Father Karras comes back into the room, he just goes apeshit. He's like, "You son of a bitch!" And he just starts punching him. So his boxing is paying off right here. He's punching the shit out of Reagan, and then he's just like, "Take me, take me, take me." And then you see his eyes change, and then once that happens, right away he eats himself out of the window and he kills himself.
Yep, sacrifices himself for the girl. What I find so funny about the previous scene, though, talking about like the theme of the movie, is I never would have gotten that. Like I would have taken this as a sort of stock standard Christ allegory, self-sacrifice for the good of others is beneficial and Christ-like. So
it's part of it. It's part of it, but like it's funny that you know how nowadays everything it's always it's always tell don't show, and it's just there's like Hollywood directors have no respect for the audience and all that.
Yep.
Friedkin may have been an asshole, but he didn't underestimate his audience. He felt everything that needed to be in the movie was in the movie. Everything that needed to tell that need to say this was already in the movie, which is why he didn't include that in the first place.
Yep.
So, but here, going back here, so he fell here, and here's the thing, though, he's still freaking alive.
Oh yeah.
You see him move his fingers, and everybody sees it, and it's heartbreaking right here because that's Father Dyer, his buddy. His buddy's giving him his friends giving him his last rites, and I didn't even realize this at first, and I'm thinking about it now. I'm shedding a few tears. Like he's mourning right here, and he's giving him his last rites. It's heartbreaking to watch this.
Yeah,
and everything.
Especially because he's the guy that got him involved in all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically sent his friend to his death.
Yeah. I mean, that's one way to put it. But in this way, he got. Father Karras he got redeemed. His arc came full circle. I mean, that's part of
Yeah.
what makes this movie excellent.
Yep. He was. One way you could say he sent him to his death. The other way you could say is he delivered him to his destiny.
Yes, I think the latter is the better position, in my opinion. Yeah. You see, he's crying. You see him mourning right there. It's just like this reaction it's insane, and it's just like it's basically a repeat of what happened to. It's almost like a repeat of what happened to Burke, except he wasn't murdered. He sacrificed himself and then put an end to it. And everybody thinks Pazuzu is still around. Not really. I mean, because he killed himself when Pazuzu possessed him. I guess that sent him to hell.
Yep.
At least that's what I think. I don't know. So.
That is my read of the movie. And if anybody says that there's a sequel to this movie, my response is going to be, I really don't care what HBO says. There wasn't a sequel to this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the end of the movie. I mean, that's pretty much where the book ends. And then, of course, they added additional stuff. So they basically leave, go back to LA and all that, because they only rented this house. They were only, in Georgetown for a little while and all that. So, but yeah, that's basically The Exorcist right there. So excellent movie. What was I going to get? What was I going to say? Man, I forgot. I had a point that I wanted to make, and I forgot. I forgot. But going speaking of sequels, so they made The Exorcist 2, which everybody says is garbage. I have not seen The Exorcist 2. I know it exists, and I know they had a lot of big actors. They had freaking Louise Fletcher, who played Nurse Ratched in One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. They had Richard Burton, Richard Burton, probably one of the greatest actors ever. Mm-hmm. You had James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones was in that movie, and that was the same year Star Wars came out. So he did voice work for Darth Vader, and he was in Exorcist too. Yep. But I haven't watched the movie. I just know that it's garbage. Everybody says it doesn't exist. William Peter Blatty himself said the movie is shit. William Friedkin himself said the movie's shit. When you have the two guys who pretty much, made the first film say that the second film is complete shit on record, it's shit. It's shit. Yep. So, but I heard nothing but good things about The Exorcist 3, which was William Peter Blatty's attempt. He wrote a sequel, and the sequel is called Dominion, I believe.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's called Dominion. I forget what the name of the book is. And he made a movie. It's called The Exorcist. It's called William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3, and it follows Lieutenant Kinderman. But Lieutenant Kinderman this time is played by George C. Scott. Lieutenant Kinderman and Father Dyer. It continues their stories, and it's a murder. It's more of a murder mystery than what this movie does. So, and it's been recommended. You have freaking Brad Dourif, from Lord of the Rings, and Chucky, and
yeah.
He's in that movie. Like I said, George C. Scott, and I'm sure there's other actors from that era that make an appearance. But I still haven't seen it. But I heard nothing but good things about it.
So I've always preferred the joke that Doom is the sequel to The Exorcist. That Karras is actually Doom guy, and that when he killed himself, he went to hell, but he's still fighting demons in hell.
Doom? You mean which the Rock Doom?
Doom? The video game.
Oh, the video game.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the movie.
Father Karras is the Doom Slayer.
Oh, okay.
The Doom guy.
I have to be honest. I've never played Doom.
Oh,
yeah.
The most modern remake, not the sequel to the modern remake, but the modern remake is one of the most fun playing a video game that I've ever had. Like, and I'm not saying it's a great game. I'm just saying it's fun as shit.
It is. Pretty sure it is. I've seen videos. I've seen people play it. So maybe one of these days I'll play it. I'm more of a Mario guy. I like to play Super Mario. And by the way, as new Super Mario games come out, me and Steve already got it, and I'm gonna get it too. So
I was noticing Steve was playing it during our stream. So
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go. I'm probably gonna troll him now. So yeah, let's. All right. So all right. So any final thoughts on The Exorcist, Alex?
Um, in many ways, I almost feel a little bit robbed of this experience because this movie has been copied so many times that I didn't get the full effect of seeing it raw. And you know, I almost feel the same way about like the original Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you know, you can appreciate the cultural significance without really internalizing it if you've seen a bunch of other things first.
Yeah.
Um, but I can also respect that this is a great film.
Yes.
And not only was it a great film as far as being an entertaining movie, but it was also a great film as far as advancing the genre and advancing the art form. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely do recommend.
Absolutely. All right. But yeah, I once again like this. I went in watching this really from a nerdporial point of view, so a little more analytical.
Mhm.
And like I said, like I didn't see this as a horror movie this time. I saw it as it was just like it was a thriller with fantasy elements. Good versus evil, setting up a battle and all that.
Mhm.
And like you said, I mean, there's aspects of what we see in Wheel of Time in this and everything. So I thought I actually really enjoyed that, seeing it from that point of view. And like all the film analysis videos I watch, especially covering the opening Iraq sequence, it leaves a lot of room for imagination. Like what do you think is really going on here? Because
Right.
the movie's not going to tell you, and that's a good thing. The movie doesn't always have to tell you shit. Sometimes it's fun to come up with your own ideas like of what's going on, and then you debate about it with other fans, and that's what brings people together.
Mhm.
Not all this divisive shit that they make nowadays.
100%.
So, but yeah, I still think the first film. I mean, I've only seen the first film
Mhm.
in the Exorcist series, so I can't really speak for any of the others. But definitely recommends. It's up there. It's definitely it's horror done right. It's horror done right, and it's not even. I don't even fully see it as horror. But you know
Mhm.
what? That to each his own. So great movie. Go see it if you haven't. So you got anything you want to plug, Alex? I know you had your stream earlier, so everybody check out Alex's stream that he did with what was his name again?
Tudor Rambles.
Tudor Rambos. Okay, and just talking about season 2.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah. Yep.
and yeah, so definitely check out anything else. Anything else? White Cloaks are doing those toxic book cloak peoples.
Um. El Dan is trying to convince me to write my um. I don't even know how you describe it. The Great Hunt as the world's greatest self help book.
A
Um.
self-help book. Oh,
Well, if it's the theme of that book is Rand basically learning to become a leader of men,
yes.
and there's basically a lesson in every chapter about um, doing so. And I was thinking about doing a video just pulling each of those, pulling them out and highlighting the lesson that you learn, from that particular chapter.
Okay. I mean, the one chapter I think of the most when it comes to him being a leader is when they're in the other world, when they get transported to the other world, and especially Huron looks to him
Mm.
for leadership, for guidance, and then because we hear his internal monologue, Rand realizes he has to step up and start to lead, despite
Yep.
the fact that they would force him to venture outside of his comfort zone, but still. There you go. But there you go. And I actually love that. And that's always what I think when I think of the Great Hunt, and especially the whole thing of him gradually becoming a leader and all that. So great thing. And speaking of Wheel of Time,
Shadow Rising.
Sunday Shadow Rising resumes. So yeah, I still have not. I was on chapter 8, so I have to do some reading, but that'll be done 7 p.m. Central on Sunday. Me, Prophet, Nathan, and Alex, the 4 of us. And if Pips wants to join us, even though he's 8 hours ahead of us, he's welcome to join us too if he wants to. But yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be on Sunday, and then tomorrow, Chilporio with Paul of Fandomology. Is one of the earliest channels I've ever had the honored to stream with. He's going through his Star Trek journey as well. So I've been hanging out with some young pups watching Star Trek for the first time within the last year or two. So it's always fun to hear a fresh perspective on that franchise and everything. So. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. And of course, there's videos that I've been really slacking on doing that I need to do and everything, like my 3,000 sub video, which I still haven't done yet.
There you go.
I'm lazy. I gotta do that. And whatever else, I have to figure out what performs better that I should prioritize. So we'll see. But yeah, everybody. Thanks for checking out the stream. Alex, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun. And definitely check out The Exorcist, and definitely check out the previous serial horror streams. I covered American Werewolf in London last week with Fanzine, and I covered The Fly with Dread Roberts. So the season finale will be next Thursday. I'll be covering the movie Carrie with Pops.
Ooh,
so we'll be doing that. And everybody, because of the fact that I love my openings, I'm going to show it again, and then I'm going to show the outro. So everybody, take care, have a good night, stay safe, stay incorporeal.
The end of the year is nigh. All that was alive and green now turns to a dark red, a bloody red. A red that activates our fear, making us all crazy. To properly channel this fear, we release it through the consumption of horror media. Nerdporial and the special guests will have a special discussion during this time to ward off evil for all its pain and pleasure. Nerdporial humbly welcomes you to Season 2 of the Serial Horror Chat.